feel tensions rising, I hear voices in my head. They counsel me, they understand. They talk to me, they talk to me. They tell me things that I will do. They show me things I'll do to you. They talk to me, talk to me, talk to me, talk to me. They talk to me, talk to me, talk to me.
What's up, Yu-Gi Tubers? This is Harpie Hunter 89 coming at you from the Duelist Den, and the voices in my head have told me that the next segment for the Archetype breakdown has got to be Harpies. For those of you who don't know, who haven't seen my top 10 favorite archetypes, who haven't figured it out by my tag, Harpies are my favorite archetype. They were the first deck I ever had, not to mention the fact that they were the first archetype ever to be created. I've always had a Harpie deck. I will always have a Harpie deck. And they just hold a special place in my heart. Now, as far as playstyle, Harpies are designed to mass summon and protect each other and boost each other up. Now, just to save some time, the types of this deck consist of Winged Beast and Dragon types, and every monster in this archetype is Wind attribute. So with that being said, let's jump right into this. To start things off, we're going to go over Harpie's Pet Baby Dragon. This level 4 has 1200 attack and 600 defense, and it gains effects based on the number of Harpie monsters you control except Harpie's Pet Baby Dragon. If you control one or more, your opponent cannot target Harpie monsters you control for attacks except Pet Baby Dragon. 2 or more, it doubles the original attack and defense of this card, and 3 or more, once per turn, you can target one card your opponent controls and destroy that target. Now, first of all, these effects do accumulate, so if you have 3 or more Harpies, it gets all of the effects. Now, this card, it in one card has everything that Harpies were designed to do. Protection, boost, and destruction. This card, in my opinion, is pretty much the embodiment of what Harpies were designed to do. For the second dragon of the deck, we have Harpie's Pet Dragon. This level 7 dragon has 2000 attack, 2500 defense, and the effect states that it gains 300 attack and defense for each Harpie lady on the field. Now, even in today's game, that attack boost is really relevant. Now, more times than not, you see this card being played just to go into rank 7 plays. But still, that attack boost, if your opponent stops you from special summoning from the extra deck, that attack boost can really make the difference in a game. Just because, like I said, I mean, ideally you want to get 3 copies of Harpie Lady 1 on the field. Then not only is this card getting 300 attack because you have Harpies on the field, but it's also getting that 300 boost from each Harpie Lady 1. So the attack boost on this can just be ridiculous. And if you're running Harpies, you definitely need this card in the deck. For the last of the dragons, we have Harpie's Pet Phantasmal Dragon. This rank 4 dragon has 2000 attack, 2500 defense. So it has the same base stats as Harpie's Pet Dragon. It requires 3 level 4 wind monsters to summon, which you can do really easily in Harpies. And it also states that its effects can only be applied or resolved while it has Xyz material. This card can attack your opponent directly, your opponent cannot target any Harpie monsters with effects or for attacks. The only downside is during each year end phases, you have to detach 1 material from this card. Now, this card is really great. I loved this card when it came out for Harpies. I still love it. This is like the best card you can have for a Harpie deck because it stopped your opponent from hitting your Harpies, or targeting, I should say, your Harpies for attacks and card effects. I mean, this is as close to perfect protection you can get for an archetype. In addition to that, this card can attack your opponent directly. I mean, this is pretty much like dropping it on the field and then hitting your opponent for 6,000 points of damage. Now we're getting into the Winged Beast type monsters. The first one is Harpie Girl, which is a level 2 with 500 attack and 500 defense. I like the lore on this card. It says a Harpie chick who aspires to flit about beautifully and gorgeously, but attacks sharply. Being that this card is level 2, it doesn't really have much function in Harpie decks. I guess you could probably run some other rank 2 engine in the deck as well for rank 2 Xyz plays. But other than that, which you're probably not going to do anyway, this card really has no play in Harpies. back in the day, the original Harpie decks, I mean, that was designed around a lot of boosts, so the 500 attack wasn't really that big because you had your Field Spell, you had your Harpie Lady 1s, you had a bunch of other win stuff like Flying Kamakiri #1 that boosted attacks. Well, Flying Kamakiri #1 didn't boost attacks, but you could search that with Kamakiri #1. But there's just a lot of boost effects going around back then. So this card was okay-ish back then. But in today's game, where Harpies are pretty much dominantly around level 4s and level 7 plays, this card really doesn't have a purpose in a Harpie deck these days. Now for the card that this archetype was named after, we have Harpie Lady. This level 4 has 1300 attack and 1400 defense. And the lore on this card says that, and I quote, "This human-shaped animal with wings is beautiful to watch, but deadly in battle." Now, as far as that lore, it may not apply to the original Harpie Lady card anymore, but it does apply to the overall archetype. I mean, they are human-shaped animals with wings. I mean, and they are beautiful to watch, and they are deadly in battle. I mean, that's just a fact you can't deny. And while as the lore doesn't apply to the original Harpie Lady these days, as an archetype overall, it is great. So I really love the lore on this card. Now, these days, Harpie Lady 1 doesn't see any play whatsoever. But back in the day, when the Harpies were first released, you didn't have Harpie Lady 1, 2, or 3. All you had was the original Harpie Lady. So to make maximum use out of your Elegant Egotist, you had to get this out. And when this card was first released, 1300 attack for level 4 was pretty good stats. Even the defense with 1400 was pretty good stats. But this, I love this card. It has real beautiful artwork, but it doesn't really see much play today. And it's really not needed for the deck unless you're running something like a Rescue Cat engine in the deck. The next monster in this list is Harpie Lady 1. Now, Harpie Lady 1, Harpie Lady 2, Harpie Lady 3, and Cyber Harpie Lady all have the same effect that states this card's name is always treated as Harpie Lady. So even in the deck, it's always treated as Harpie Lady. Now that does kind of suck because Cyber Harpie Lady and Harpie Lady 2 and 3 do have some pretty okay effects. So it kind of sucks that you can't run all 3 of them in the deck and multiple copies. But that doesn't really matter because this is the one that you see played most. Its effect states that all win monsters gain 300 attack. Just like Harpie Lady, Harpie Lady 1, 2, and 3 all have the same attack and defense, which is 1300 attack, 1400 defense, which is pretty good. Now, like I said, this is the Harpie Lady you see most commonly in Harpie decks, just because the attack boost pretty much affects everything in the deck. The only downside is if your opponent's running a deck based around wind monsters, this effect boosts their wind monsters too, which kind of sucks. But still, it's really great. This is the Harpie Lady you want to run in your deck. Next up is Harpie Lady 2. This card's effect states that negate the effects of flip effect monsters this card destroys by battle. Now, well, as these days, that effect is not really relevant unless you're teching it in against Shadal's or maybe Prediction Princess. It's like I said, it's not really all that relevant. A lot of people question Konami putting this effect on there, but what people don't realize is that when this card was first released, Maneater Bug and Morphing Jar and the such were really a big thing, cards that people were worrying about. So having this card in a Harpie deck was a pretty good idea because it would stop effects like those. And like I said, Morphing Jar, Maneater Bug, they really had low defense, so destroying them with Harpie Lady 2 was could be easily done. And so when this card was around, that effect was actually pretty decent, even if it's not good in the current game. For the last of the Harpie Lady trio, we have Harpie Lady 3. This card's effect states that an opponent's monster that battles this card cannot declare an attack during your opponent's next 2 turns. Now, this was a really good card to have in the deck back in the day when it first came around, because if you set this card in defense mode, and your opponent attacked it and destroyed it by battle with their boss monster, say Blue Eyes White Dragon, for example, that monster could not attack for your opponent's next 2 turns, which gave you an opportunity to build up your field. Now, these days, that effect really wouldn't be relevant because, you can just use that monster that can attack for an Xyz summon or a Synchro summon, etc., etc. Plus, with Pendulum summoning around now, getting massive amounts of monsters, having one monster that can attack isn't really that big a deal. But back in the day, this card was pretty effective against stuff like Blue Eyes and Red Eyes and Dark Magician, and even going into Black Luster Soldier. This card was pretty relevant back then. For the last of the cards that has its name treated as Harpie Lady at all times, we've got Cyber Harpie Lady. Now, this card has no effect other than the fact that its name is always treated as Harpie Lady. It's got okay stats with 1800 attack and 1300 defense, but other than the fact that its name is always treated as Harpie Lady, which means you can summon it with Elegant Egotist and and it gets the Harpie's Hunting Ground effect to pop. This card really has no purpose in a deck, at least in my opinion. Now, a lot of Harpie decks, you see 2 copies of this and 1 copy of Harpie Lady 1, or 2 copies of Harpie Lady 1 and 1 copy of this. Personally, I would just rather run the 3 copies of Harpie Lady of Harpie Lady 1 anyway. In my opinion, that's the better option, just because Harpie Lady 1 actually has an effect that benefits the rest of the cards in your deck. Now we're come to Birdface. This level 4 winged beast has 1600 attack and 1600 defense, and stakes the claim of being the only part of the Harpie archetype that does not actually have Harpie in its card name. The reason for that is because of its effect, which states when this card is sent to the graveyard as a result of battle, you can add 1 Harpie Lady from your deck to your hand, then shuffle your deck. Now, in today's meta and today's game, with this effect is actually pretty slow, but when this card was first released, it was back in the days when Sangan, Giant Rat, and similar cards such to those were really big in the game. So this card actually made a really relevant place in Harpie decks when they were first coming out, because if you couldn't get Harpie Lady in your hand, this card you could easily sit on the field, get attacked into, then search your deck for Harpie Lady. This is actually the first search card in monster form anyway, that was specifically designed for Harpie Ladies. And, well, yeah, you had Flying Kamakiri number 1 that could get Harpie Lady to your hand. This was actually the first monster designed with an effect to search out a Harpie card. Now that we've talked about Birdface, let's talk about the successor to Birdface. That's right, Harpie Harpist. This monster has 1700 attack points, 600 defense points. Already it's got better stats than Birdface. In addition, this card's name becomes Harpie Lady while it's on the field or in the graveyard, just like all other Winged Beast Harpies that are level 4. It also states you can only use each effect of Harpie Harpist once per turn, and you can use both effects during the same turn. Or you can use each of these effects Harpie Harpist once per turn. So pretty much you can use each effect once per turn, and you can use both effects in the same turn. The first effect states that when this card is normal summon, you can target 1 Winged Beast type monster you control other than this card and 1 face-up monster your opponent controls and return them to the hand. An effect that a lot of people don't really use. The second effect is during the end phase of this card is in the graveyard because it was sent there this turn. You can add 1 level 4 Winged Beast type monster of 1500 or less attack from your deck to your hand. Now that effect not only makes it viable in Harpies, but also in other decks such as, God, I cannot believe I'm going to say this because of how much I hate this deck, but you can use it in Dragoonities or Gustos, etc., etc. But that second effect pretty much makes it the better version of Birdface. Merely because it doesn't have to be destroyed by battle. I mean, you can use that second effect if it's detached from an Xyz monster, if you discard it from your hand, if it's destroyed by battle, or if it's sent to your graveyard from your deck. So that pretty much just makes it, like I said, a better version of Birdface. Next up is the card that let Harpie's Hunting Ground not only have its cake, but eat it too. We have Harpie Dancer. This monster has 1200 attack and 1000 defense. Not really great stats, but the effect makes it worth it. The effect states that you can target 1 wind monster you control, return it to the hand, then you can normal summon 1 wind monster. You can only use this effect of Harpie Dancer once per turn, and this card's name becomes Harpie Lady while it's on the field or in the graveyard. Now this effect cannot be stopped by cards such as Vanity's Emptiness because you return a wind monster to your hand and then you normal summon a wind monster. Now used in conjunction with cards like Divine Wind of Mist Valley, this card also gives you an additional special summon. But with Harpie's Hunting Ground on the field, this is pretty much a pop 2 back row for free pretty much, just off of 1 summon. Overall, this card is a really great card to have in your deck just because it does give you maximum usage out of your Harpie's Hunting Ground. Next we go into Harpie Channeler. This monster has 1400 attack and 1300 defense, and its effect states that you can discard 1 Harpie card and special summon 1 Harpie monster from your deck in face-up defense position except Harpie Channeler. You can only use this effect of Harpie Channeler once per turn, and when you control a Dragon-type monster, this card's level becomes 7. This card is arguably And I'm not even going to say arguably. I mean, this card is what made Harpies competitive again. It is the primary searcher in the deck because not only can it get you any of your other winged beast Harpies, such as Harpist, Dancer, or Lady 1 or Queen, but it also gives you the easy ability to special summon your Harpie's Pet Dragon from your deck to go into your rank 7 plays. And like I said, if you bring out a level 4 Harpie, I mean, you can still go into your rank 4 plays. But this card, like I said, it is pretty much what brought Harpies back to the competitive format. For the last of the level 4 Harpies, we have the queen of them all. That's right, Harpie Queen. This monster not only beats out the rest of the Harpies with stats combining the 1900 attack points with the 1200 defense points, but this also is the card that lets you search out your field spell. The effect states that you can discard this card to the graveyard, add 1 Harpie's Hunting Ground from your deck to your hand. Now, this card is real important in the deck because it gets you the card you need to do what Harpies were meant to do, and that's destroy back row. Now, when this card first came out, it was really super relevant. I mean, not so much these days. I mean, yeah, you can use the Hunting Ground to destroy back row and Pendulum spell, or cards in the Pendulum zones, but this card was really at its best during the days of the Field Spell Wars. Now, for the new duelists who don't know what that is, about a year or so ago, I want to say less than a year ago, is when the rule came into effect that both players can each have a field spell active on the field. Before that, the ruling was that only one field spell could be active between the two players, and when a new field spell was activated, the one that was previously on the field was destroyed. I mean, that's what field spells were. And when this was around, it came around right there near the beginning of the Field Spell Wars, and really there were only 2 main decks that were winning during this format, and that was Harpies and Gravekeepers, just because they had the monster that they could discard to search out their field spell. But this is pretty much the card that lets you get the field spell to do what Harpies were meant to do. For the last of the Harpie monsters, we have Harpie Lady Sisters. This level 6 winged beast has 1950 attack points and 2100 defense points, and it cannot be normal summoned or set, but must first be special summoned with Elegant Egotist. Now, you're looking at this card, level 6 with 1950 attack isn't that decent. The defense of 2100 is pretty good, but in today's game, the 1950 attack is just a waste of time for a level 6, especially when you have so many other decent level 6s. And with it being a level 6, it's really not relevant to playing a Harpie deck. Granted, I am working on a Harpie deck that does utilize a rank 6 engine, just so I can put this card back in my deck. That's just how much I love this card. I would really love to put this card back in my deck, just so I could utilize a rank 6 engine in my Harpies. But overall, in today's game, it's not really all that relevant. Back when it was first came out, I mean, this card was super good. I mean, seeing your opponent drop Harpie Lady Sisters on you was just like a slap in the face because, you know, although they could get around it really easily, if they had Triangle Ecstasy Spark in their hand, I mean, you were just pretty much fucked. Now we get into the spell cards for the deck, first of which is Elegant Egotist. This normal spell card states that if Harpie Lady is on the field, special summon 1 Harpie Lady or Harpie Lady Sisters from your hand or deck. Now, in today's game, with all the new support Harpie Ladies have gotten, you can have pretty much any of your Harpie monsters on the field and be able to use this card. But back in the day where you actually need to have Harpie Lady on the field, this was kind of a big thing because, you know, you would have to run 3 copies of this in your deck. You'd have to run 3 Harpie Ladies and 3 Harpie Lady Sisters just to get maximum effect out of this card. Now, with today, we have Hysteric Sign, which lets you get this card back from the graveyard. So you really only run 1 copy of it, and with Harpie Lady Sisters being not relevant anymore, 1 copy is really all you need these days. But back in the day when this card was first released, I mean, this was just the primary card for the deck. I mean, the idea was to get Harpie Lady on the field as quickly as possible through cards such as Birdface or Flying Kamakiri #1, and then using the Elegant Egotist field spell to start boosting up your Harpie plays and going into your big moves. Next up is Harpie Lady Phoenix Formation. I do apologize you can't see the text in the video, but the effect of this card states if you control 3 or more Harpie Lady and or Harpie Lady Sisters, target as many monsters your opponent controls as possible, but not more than the total number of Harpie Lady and Harpie Lady Sisters you currently control. Destroy those targets, and if you do inflict damage to your opponent equal to the highest original attack among those destroyed monsters, your choice of Tide, You cannot special summon monsters from the main deck or extra deck, nor conduct your battle phase the turn you activate this card. Now, when this card was first seen in the anime, everybody loved it. I mean, people wanted Phoenix Formation to be printed. But then the card comes out, and the effect is sort of a watered-down version of Regeki. Yeah, you get to destroy your opponent's monsters. You get to hit them with effect damage. Now, if they have a really powerful monster on the field, that can be effective. But if you're just clearing off a bunch of low-powered monsters, it's not really that great. Added to the fact that you cannot special summon from the main or extra deck, well, that takes out your Xyz plays. That also prevents you from using Elegant Egotist. This card, they watered it down so much, it absolutely sucks for gameplay. The last of the normal spells in the deck is Triangle Ecstasy Spark. The effect of this card states that until the end phase, the attack of all Harpie Lady Sisters currently on the field becomes 2,700. Your opponent cannot activate any trap cards, also negate all your opponent's trap card effects on the field. Now, when this card was first released, when Harpies were first getting going, you had to run Harpie Lady Sisters in the deck to make it good. So bringing their attack up to 2,700 was a pretty good effect. In addition to that, it prevented your opponent from activating trap cards during this turn, and it also negated the effects of all trap card effects, or it also negates all your opponent's trap card effects on the field if they're already face up, such as Skill Drain or Phoenix Chain, stuff like that. Now, you look at this card and you say, well, hey, that's a pretty card. I mean, even if you don't run Harpie Lady Sisters, you get to negate trap card effects. So it's pretty much a trap stun in a spell card version. Well, unfortunately, no. In order to use this card, you actually have to have Harpie Lady Sisters on the field. So it's really only viable in Harpie decks, and only if you run Harpie Lady Sisters. Honestly, I would love to run Harpie Lady Sisters in my deck, which is why I'm trying to build an engine for them, just so I can run this particular card. Next up is Cyber Shield. Now this is where I go on my Konami rant. Now when Storm of Ragnarok was first being released, Harpie players got excited because we found out there's going to be Harpie support in Storm of Ragnarok. We get Storm of Ragnarok, there is one Harpie support card, and it is Cyber Shield. This is like Konami just slapping the face, or slapping Harpie players in the face. I mean, first of all, it is an equipped spell, and it can only be equipped to Harpie Lady or Harpie Lady Sisters, and it gives them a 500 attack boost. I mean, it was just a slap in the face. I mean, when we heard it, I mean, we were thinking maybe Phoenix Formation, or Sparrow Formation, or a new Harpie Dragon, or something, and this is what Konami gave us. I mean, this card is, yeah, if this card was released back when Harpies were first around, yeah, I can see it. And as a Harpie collector, I love this card, seeing Mai use it in the anime. I mean, as from a collection standpoint, if you're trying to get all the cards printed that Mai used, and you're just trying to collect the Harpie cards, yeah, it's great. But as far as playability, I mean, this was just a slap in the face from Konami. The next spell card for the deck is Hysteric Sign. This continuous spell card states that when this card is activated, add one Elegant Egotist from your deck or graveyard to your hand. During the end phase of the turn, this card was sent from the field or hand to the graveyard. Add up to 3 Harpie cards with different names from your deck to your hand. You can only activate one Hysteric Sign effect per turn, and only once that turn. Now what that pretty much means is you cannot, if you activate this card and your opponent changes MST to it, well, you're screwed. Because not only do you not get to add Egotist to your hand, but you also do not get the ability to search for 3 Harpies. In addition to that, you cannot use one copy to add Egotist to your hand, then destroy a second copy and get the search off. You can't do that. Which isn't too bad because you're adding Elegant Egotist either from your deck or graveyard to your hand, so you're going to get to special summon a Harpie. And then if your opponent does blind MST it or something, you get to search for 3 Harpie cards, which allows you to go into your plays. So I mean, I really love this card. I loved it when this card came out. It gave the deck a lot more playability, and you really need to run at least 3 copies of this in your Harpie deck. Now finally for the card the Harpies are really all about. It is Harpie's Hunting Ground. This card states that all Winged Beast type monsters gain 200 attack and defense, and when any Harpie Lady or Harpie Lady Sisters are normal or special summoned, The player who conducted the summon targets one spell or trap card on the field, destroy that card. Now this card, like I said, this is pretty much what Harpies are all about, destroying back row and boosting the up. This card is really the pinnacle of what Harpies are all about. Because back when it was released, I mean, there was a lot of back row. I mean, you had MSTs, you had Fiendish Chains, you had Sakuretsu Armors, you had Mirror Forces. You know, getting your opponent's back row off the field is really how you won the game. And no deck did it better than Harpies. And even in today's meta, I mean, you're taking out pendulum spells, you're taking out vanities, you're taking out face downs. You know, just it doesn't matter what era you're in. Destroying your opponent's spell and trap cards is always going to be something that is relevant. And with Harpies, you get a free MST pretty much every time you summon a Harpie, as long as this card is on the field. Now, every archetype in existence, at least the majority of them anyway, have their own way to get cards back from the graveyard. Harpies is no exception. With Hysteric Party, the continuous trap, you activate by discarding one card and special summon as many copies of Harpie Lady as possible from your graveyard. And when this face-up card leaves the field, destroy those monsters. This card is what gives you your mass Harpie plays from the graveyard. Now, the only downside is you do have to discard a card to use this card, but if you're discarding a Harpie monster or Harpie from your hand, such as Harpie Chandler or any of really your level 4 Harpie monsters, you're just going to be able to get that card right back. So it's really at no cost. You're bringing back a flood of Harpies. Now, this card is pretty much like Call of the Haunted, so if it gets MST'd upon activation, you're pretty much screwed. But still, I mean, this card is really great just because it does let you get those mass summons off from your graveyard and allows you to go into your big plays. Alright, now before I end this video and before I get a shit ton of shit in my comment box about this, let me go on the record and state that Harpie's brother is not a member of the Harpie archetype. Now, believe me, it does pain me to say that because for years and years and years and years I was in denial about this. But unfortunately, the official ruling is, and before he even got his name around to Sky Scout, the official ruling is and has always been that he is not a member of the Harpie archetype, and this is further backed up by the fact, or by the original text on Harpie's Pet Baby Dragon, which stated that this card gains effects based on the number of Harpie monsters you control, except Harpie's Pet Baby Dragon or Harpie's brother. So, just for some clarification, and I know I'm still going to get shit for this little raid here, but Harpie's brother has never been an official part of the Harpie archetype. Unofficially, he is and always will be, just for those die-hard Harpie fans. But that being said, make sure you like this video, subscribe to my channel, and leave a comment in the box below. Until next time, this is Harpie Hunter 89 signing off.